Welcome back to another Publisher VBA tutorial. So we are continuing our series where we are exploring the object model of Microsoft Publisher using VBA. And in our previous video, we kind of kicked things off. We did our introduction and all that kind of fun stuff. Now that we've done that, we're going to work with our first object. And I think probably at this point, the object that makes the most sense is the document object. So our document object, if you want to compare it to other Microsoft applications, you would basically say, okay, it kind of behaves like a workbook or a PowerPoint presentation or a Word document. So this is kind of the first level of our little hierarchy. And then from that particular object, we'll go down to the next one in the next video, which is pages. And there's an error in the pages video. I'll mention that when I get here. But when we explore the document, it's really kind of just understanding what is some things we can do with it. How does it kind of transition to other objects and things like that? So hopefully you guys enjoy. First things first is you do want to make sure you go to your Visual Basic editor. So to get there, you're going to go to your Developer tab. So Developer tab, then to Visual Basic. I already have a module ready to go, but we're going to insert a new one called module first, and then we're going to change the name. So we're going to call it from module 1, we're going to call it working with a document. And then I already have one, so I'm going to call this one working with a document video because I'm recording it. Then from here, we're going to create a new subroutine. We're going to call it working with the document object and sub. Like all of our previous videos, we're going to declare our variables. The first one is going to be called pub app. This will represent the application object. We're going to then have our pub docs. This represents our documents collection. So you can have multiple documents open in Publisher. This is very similar to other applications. You have multiple Word documents, multiple Excel workbooks, and so on. And then additionally, we're going to have a single document object. This represents the document that ideally we want to work with, a single document from that collection. From here, I'm going to grab the application. So I'm going to set that pub app equal to the application object. Going to grab the documents collection. This represents all the documents. I'm going to call it pub docs. This is going to equal our pub app. And then there is a documents property that represents the collection. I'm then going to grab the document that houses the code. Now I have a video that's, what is it? I think it's working with pages. In there, I say that there is no this document. I was mistaken. I actually found that there is one. It took me a little bit of exploring a little bit, and then I realized on one of the examples they give you, there actually is a this document object. It's interesting though, you don't kind of, I guess there's like kind of this, you don't access it through the application itself, at least from what I could tell, but you can do pub doc, and then there is a this document. And so this represents the document that houses the code. With other objects, like other applications like Excel, for example, I can go to application and then this workbook, even with PowerPoint and stuff like that. But it looks like with Publisher, you have to do this document on its own, and it seems to work exactly the same. So that was interesting. I thought that would be a little bit different, but maybe not. Okay, and then from here, we're just going to start exploring some of the properties. So the first one is going to print the name of the document. And so we're going to say debug print. The document name is, pub doc, and then name. So this represents the actual name of our document with the extension attached to it. I'm going to give myself some space. I'm going to print the full path to the document. Debug print. The document path is, and then this, plus pub doc and then full name in this situation. So they call it full name. I call it full path because it includes the file path. You can see here that this one returns everything. You can kind of see that as well. Yeah, it goes to a new line just simply because I have my font a little bit bigger than usual. Some things that you can kind of do with documents is, say you had a linked object inside of it, like a linked Excel worksheet OLE object. You can update OLE objects. So you can update OLE objects inside of the document. How do you do that? It's pretty straightforward. You just take your public doc and there is an update OLE object. So if you have linked objects and stuff like that, you can do that as well. Different applications do a little bit differently. So with Excel, for example, or PowerPoint, there are update links. This one, it's update OLE objects. So it's kind of a similar behavior. You can also bring a window to the front, not necessarily with the VBA editor right here in front of me, but if you wanted to grab the active window and bring it to the front, you would do that by doing pub doc active window, and then activate brings it to the front. Thing is, though, you can kind of see, obviously it doesn't do a lot if I'm in the Visual Basic editor, but it is there in case you wanted to make it for the user so they could see it. So I'm going to comment that one out just so it doesn't keep making the screen flicker. You can also grab the document direction. So the document, you can either have it go left to right or right to left. By default, it should be left to right. That's going to represent 1. If you want to do right to left, that would be 2. So debug print, the document direction is, and then plus convert to string, pub doc, and then there is a document direction attribute. This should return 1. That looks good. That's what I want to see. It means it's left to right, or PB direction left to right. Right to left is 2. Okay, so there's the document direction. You can also add layout guides. I'm not going to say this is super helpful at this point, but I'm going to show you just to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. So I think they're already on. I'm going to make sure if they are. I'm going to try to turn it off. Oh, here we go, guides. I'm going to turn this off. I already have some in here from the previous ones. This one, I believe it was 3. So the first thing is I'm going to turn off guides. They're column guides, to be more specific. So I can say pub doc, layout guides, and then rows equals 0. And then pub doc, layout guides dot columns equals 0 as well. Fine, we'll do 1. So you can see we're now at 1 ideally, and then we'll do 1 as well. And then you can see it's kind of doing it. I'll put 3 and then 3. You can see it added more. It might be a little hard to tell, but this is how you would change the layout guides or things like that. So, you know, can be useful depending on who your audience is and what you might want to have turned on for them when they first go into the document. Additionally, you can see if the document is saved. So we can say debug print, the document saved status is, and then colon equal plus convert string. It returns a Boolean, so we need to convert that to a string, and then there is a saved property. So it will return whether the document is saved or not. Additionally, we can also print the number of redo actions available. And so from here, debug print the number of redo actions available is, and then convert to string, pub doc, and then redo actions available. This returns a count. And then you can do the same thing with the undo as well. And so if I wanted to do that, I can do undo, and then it would be undo actions available. So that's like you were going up here and you wanted to see all your undo actions and redo actions. So right now there should be 0 redo actions and like 9 undo actions. So I'm gonna Control A and then delete all that. Ooh, don't want to do that. And then run it. So you can see there's 12 actions. Oh, wow, there's 12 undo actions. And then 0 redo actions. More than likely, what's happening is when I'm running it, what happens is it's going to keep adding to it. So as I keep adding guides to it, even from the Visual Basic Editor, then this is naturally going to increase on its own. And we're going to actually do an example where you can do some more custom ones. In some cases, you might have a data source connected to your document, especially if you're doing something like mail merge. You can check if that data source is connected. So check to see if a data source is connected to the document. This is, again, more if you were doing mail merge. Debug print, and then the document data source connected status is : double quotes, and then convert to string, pub doc, data source, is data source connected. So that's going to return a Boolean as well. Going to move to my next page. Okay, we're going to do save format, and then we're going to do some actual methods that will do some different things. So print the save format of the document. And so there's actually multiple values it can be. So debug print, the document save format is space, double quotes plus, convert to string, pub doc, and then save format. Then we'll print this. I'm gonna clear it out again so you can see it. Okay, so save format is 1. Connected status is false because there is no data source connected. For the save format, let's see, file format. So you can see here, this is the save format that it could be. So there's HTML filtered, plain text, publication, Publisher 2098, RTF, Unicode text, and then web archive. So in this case, it's just the current version of Microsoft Publisher. So the file was saved with the current version of Microsoft Publisher, but obviously there's been different versions. So these values can vary depending on what you were doing. So just something, again, to be aware of, not necessarily saying it's useful in this particular video, but sometimes these properties can be useful depending on the operations you're trying to do. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to export the document as a PDF file. So how do we do that? We're going to do debug print, and then it's going to be the, not debug print. It's going to be pub doc, and then export as fixed format. The format is going to be the PDF format. You can see there's a ton of arguments depending on what you're trying to do. We're not going to do anything that complicated. I will just be exporting a PDF file, and then the file name is working with documents, and then have the extension attached to it. Let's see what this does. Let's take a look. It worked before. I don't know what happened. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete that as well, just to be safe. Fixed format type, working with documents, PDF. Let's try it again. Okay. B2, maybe? Sometimes, I've seen this happen before. It can cause issues depending on whether it's there or not. It worked the first time, so I don't know why it's now all of a sudden creating an issue. We'll do this. I'm gonna new folder, test. This is the one thing I really get frustrated with when it comes to VBA sometimes is it doesn't work and there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or a reason. It just is like, oh, well, today I'm not going to work, but tomorrow I'm going to work. Okay, so that seemed to work that time. It seemed, okay, so it created it, but this time now it's working. Okay. I don't know what I changed. I guess deleting it and then giving it time to delete. So that one seems to be a little bit error prone, so just be aware of that. I'm going to comment it out so I don't run it again. Another thing is you can do a web page preview, so you can actually see it like on a web page. So that's kind of neat too if you want to do that as well. So you can do pub doc and then web page preview. That's a method. And you can now see it on a web page, and you can actually even inspect this particular web page, and you can see there's a ton of code that comes along with it as well. So lots of great stuff you can do with it if you so choose. I'm going to comment that out as well. I don't want to run it again. And then something we're going to do next is we're going to show you how to create a custom undo action. So this is basically having something where you could run like a macro, but then they can undo that macro. But like in a bulk sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a custom undo action that adds a text box to the document. So I'm going to say pub doc begin custom undo action. We're going to give it a name, action name equals add text box with Seago font. And then, and then from here, I'm going to do pub doc and custom undo action. And then pretty much anything I do in here is going to be part of it. So the first thing I'm going to do, grab page 1. I'm going to say with pub doc pages, the first page, and with, then from here, not that, what do I want to do next? Add a rectangle. I'm going to say set rectangle shape equal to shapes. So on this page, we can have shapes. Add shape type equals MSO shape rectangle. Left equals 75. Top equals 75. Width equals 190. And then height equals 130. Okay, so that adds a new rectangle. Change the font in the rectangle. So I'm going to say with rectangle shape, and then text frame, and then text range. So with the actual text inside of it, and width. And then I can start changing it. So I can do font.size equals 14, font.bold equals true, and then font.name equals Seago UI, and then the actual text inside of it equals this is a Seago UI font, just like that. Okay, so all this is really doing is it's going to do these actions, but what we're going to be able to do is we can undo all of these actions at once. So we don't have to click undo like 9 different times to undo each of these actions. So I'm going to open this up I'm gonna put this right there so we can see it. I'm gonna scoot it over a little bit and then let's run it. Okay, perfect. So it looks like it added it. And then if you go here, you can undo it. You can redo it. See why? But it's doing all of those actions at once. Very useful, very helpful when we can bulk undo a bunch of actions at once. So that's, you could play with that a lot depending on what you're trying to do. So you could even have like a add custom rectangle that matches company font, and then they can do it and it undoes all of the operations instead of doing like, okay, undo the text, undo the bolding, undo the name, undo the size, undo the adding of the shape. So it makes it a lot quicker where they can just click the button once, undoes like 5 or 6 operations compared to just undoing that one operation altogether. And with that being said, we have reached the end of our video. So if you have any questions about working with the document, or maybe yourself have encountered this error and you have a workaround for it, please feel free to add that down below. Or if you have questions, feel free to add that down below as well. In our next video, we will talk about pages a little bit. So again, like I said early on in the video, there is an error in there. I was unaware that you can actually grab this document. So do be aware that you can actually access it as well. And then I think after that, we're probably going to go on to either shapes or sections within Publisher, just to explore that topic a little bit more. And then we might at some point talk about exporting content from one application into Publisher, because that might be useful for some of you who have Excel content and you want to create flyers that leverages some Excel data. So that's what you can look forward to. So thank you again for watching, everybody. We will see you in the next video.